So let's continue now with our health discussion. One conversation that's actually been running over a couple of weeks now. We've invited Dr. Darren Green to share a couple of his health hacks with a BWELL. And there are a number of ways that we can support our good health in our children, create that culture early. And today we're going to learn how to keep sickness at bay, continue that conversation as well. When our kids are faced with the very busy and quite intense and pressure-filled second half of the year. And it is quite intense, man. We kind of painted with a brush that our life is difficult and kids have it easy, but any child is going through the same kind of emotional stress, just relative to their world. So, Doc, welcome back. I know we're going to be talking priors a little bit later, but let's focus on some of those healthy cooking hacks and some healthy hacks. You've given us some brilliant ones. Let's kick it off this morning. What are we focusing on this morning, first of all?
Well, it's all about kids today. So I think as parents, we need to try and create a culture at home where the relationship with food is better understood. People need to realize they need to teach their children what the role of food is in our lives. It's not only a comfort, people use it as a crutch, instant, immediate, but there's also multi-sensory experience, the textures, the tastes. It's also about, obviously, looking at the relationship long-term with food, how much to eat, portion sizes, what's good for you, what's not. And it's a wonderful opportunity to enjoy the narrative, the storytelling behind the carrot, to go behind the broccoli, and so forth. The colors of food.
The carrot, the unsung hero of the salad.
So there's a lot to be said about that relationship with food.
Completely. It's bizarre to me, just like learning about our body and how to stay healthy in that sense. We often pick up these lessons as young adults, not as children. But there's an advantage for the entire family, for the parents as well. So let's jump right in there. What is your first health hack for kids?
The first one is breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Really?
So, we cannot afford to miss it. Children need brain food. The rate at which those neurons are growing and being activated, and the pathways, the wiring happening at school in terms of physical ability, motor function, learning, etc., is massive. So they need good brain food. They need a sustained supply of fuel over time. So the slow release, the low GI energy nutrients over time are essential. In that way, we think of things like oatmeal, your whole grains, obviously your nuts. Important to get nuts into their diet, and that's provided they don't have nut allergy, obviously. And then teach them, obviously, about those low GI foods and incorporate that into a good tasting recipe so that they develop a long-term relationship with that kind of thing.
Because I think that's generally, you mentioned those crutches earlier, we reward with the healthy, the nice tasting stuff, and often then it places in direct opposition to the healthy stuff. Ice cream. Yeah, exactly. So you want to kind of be on the same page with that. In terms of preparing healthy meals in the kitchen, what tips do you have?
So I don't know how many parents do, but it's an incredible opportunity to bond when you actually invite your children into the kitchen.
Make them part of the
process. Make them part of the process. Plan the meal together. Ask them what they'd like to see on their plate. And then prepare it, because in that way you can teach them about the good and bad fats in life. You can teach them about olive oil that's best had cold. You can teach them about sunflowers and where that oil comes from. Canola flowers and why canola oil is generally better for you than sunflower oil in terms of the good and the bad fats. How much to cook with. How much of a teaspoon should you be putting in the food when you're braising onions or when you're putting something in the oven, for example? So incorporate them into that process, and you'll see it's a bit of a bonding time, but also an educational time. So, yeah.
It's like you're going to enter your child into a master chef or something, dude. No, but it's awesome. You can learn often when you're teaching and going through that process. But and I was going to mention Instagram as well. There are so many platforms, Pinterest, places that you can get inspiration to make it that much more fun. This kind of leads into my next question in a way. Snacking, that's where as adults we fall victim and we set the wrong example completely, because you need like a sugar spike, or at least that's what you think, what's been drummed into your head, but you need quick energy. But that's often not necessarily the case. So how do we get those healthy habits in when it comes to snacking?
I think preparation is key. Like adults struggle to eat properly and not buy takeaways all the time when we're at work or on the run, or working late shifts, for example. We stop at the garage and eat pies, most of us. But what we need to do is actually plan the day. And if you have access to a refrigerator, even better, you can put your lunchbox in the refrigerator at work. If you don't, then you need to choose foods that aren't going to go off with temperature. So with children, make the snacks at home, the energy bars that are made with ingredients you can control. How much sugar,
dates,
how much
nuts,
butter.
And healthy things.
Date coconut balls, for example, amazing snack for kids.
And the crazy thing is when you buy so many of these things in retail, they're like so expensive, but you can make them yourselves and you can have a lot of fun doing that as well.
Very simple.
Doc, thank you so much. I know you're going to stick around. We're going to continue our health chat. Being a Tuesday morning, we're going to get into the braai culture. It's actually making me a little bit nervous. If I could braai every day, I would. But there you have it, South Africa. This week's health hacks for kids. Most important to feed those developing brains and bodies. Implement the changes above and then stay in tune. Of course, for more health hacks with Dr. Darren Green to get you and your family on the road to a better you. This week's health hack is proudly brought to you by BWELL. Choose BWELL, choose your health, switch to canola.